Television has rarely witnessed a betrayal like this. Happy Days built to one of TV's most heartfelt farewells. Then, ABC shattered it overnight, leaving fans and cast stranded in the rubble. In 1984, the series was supposed to close on Tom Bosley's tender goodbye, true emotional closure after 11 seasons with the Cunningham family. Instead, a network misstep broke hearts and bent the legacy out of shape. How did it fall apart? And how did 5 lost episodes crawl back after the ending to wound a classic? By the late 1970s, Ron Howard was ready to walk. Since 1974, he'd anchored the show as Richie Cunningham, the story's moral center and narrator in spirit. But a 2-word tweak the network wanted to slip into the title pushed him to the brink. Happy Days had become a cultural steamroller by its 3rd season. Families watched together, advertisers swarmed, and the cast turned into household names. Yet it wasn't Richie who drove the frenzy. It was Arthur Fonzarelli. Henry Winkler's Fonzie, leather jacket, motorcycle, the immortal "I" went from supporting role to national phenomenon. Kids copied the hair, stores sold out of Fonzie gear, and ratings spiked whenever he appeared. That's when ABC floated a rebrand, Fonzie's Happy Days. On a whiteboard, it looked like savvy marketing. In reality, it threatened the show's DNA. For Howard, it wasn't a cosmetic change. It felt like an erasure. He had shaped Richie into one of TV's most recognizable teens, the heartbeat of the series. Being relegated to second billing inside the very world he helped launch felt like a professional betrayal. So, in a tense sit-down with creator Gary Marshall and network brass, Howard didn't flinch, changed the title, and I'm gone. No bargaining. No second thoughts. At just 21, he understood something executives were missing. Happy Days worked because it was an ensemble. Fonzie's cool gleamed brighter next to Richie's everyman decency, Marion's warmth, and the wider Cunningham orbit. Industry watchers were stunned. Young stars didn't stare down networks, especially not over a small title change. But Howard's stand forced ABC to retreat, preserving Happy Days as the group comedy people still cherish. The twist? Henry Winkler backed him. He told executives, in essence, "Why fix what isn't broken? My success depends on the ensemble." Fonzie might have been the breakout, but Winkler knew the magic only existed inside the family they'd built. The title stayed. The scars did too. Howard started thinking seriously about leaving acting for directing, a pivot that would later make him one of Hollywood's most respected filmmakers. And that dust-up over 2 words foreshadowed. A deeper problem, the same decision-makers, who almost lost their leading man over branding, would later mishandle the show's finish in ways far worse than anyone imagined. The pain behind the Fonzes. Perfect smile. When Henry Winkler auditioned in 1973, he was broke, down to about a month's rent after years of scraping by in New York theater. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing a livelihood. The irony is rich. The actor who would embody effortless confidence walked into that room terrified. The role, originally a comic relief biker with a handful of lines, changed his life and reshaped television. By season 3, TV had a new king, Arthur Fonzarelli. The Fonz became a nationwide fixation. Hallway eyes in schools, barbers fielding Fonzie haircut requests, store shelves stripped of lunchboxes, t-shirts, and action figures. Winkler went from unknown to pop culture icon, gracing covers, talk shows, and fan mail sacks taller than a jukebox. Producers even moved Fonzie into the Cunningham house to keep him front and center, but fame exacted a toll. For more than a decade, Winkler wasn't just playing the Fonz, he was the Fonz. The jacket, the bike, the hair, all of it bled into his identity. When Happy Days ended in 1984, he described the finish as a sting. But it was deeper than that. It felt like losing a family and losing himself. Casting directors, audiences, and the town itself couldn't see past the leather. Gratitude for the role collided with the fear that it had locked his future shut. The anxiety was real. The financial precarity he'd known before Happy Days lurked in his thoughts. Hollywood kept asking for Fonzie, never the lawyer, the doctor, the teacher. For years he battled rejection and self-doubt, privately carrying that weight while the public still imagined He could start a jukebox with a tap. He didn't vanish. In the 1980s, when acting offers thinned, he shifted into directing MacGyver, Cop and a Half, and then rebuilt an on-screen second act, Principal Himbry in Scream, an Emmy-nominated turn in Arrested Development, and decades later, a career-crowning role in HBO's Barry, with an Emmy in 2018. Still, he's been candid about the ache of those post-Happy Days years. The show gave him everything, and nearly took his sense of self. February 1984 should have been ABC's victory lap. The network held exclusive rights to the Winter Olympics in Sarajevo, huge ratings, prestige, and ad dollars on tap. But the scheduling choices they made around that event produced one of TV's quiet disasters. It didn't just ding a season. It warped the relationship between a show and its audience. The games ran February 8 through February 19, 1984. Primetime cleared nightly for figure skating, skiing, and hockey. Several series lost their normal slots, including Happy Days, already on its last lap. ABC had a fork in the road. Hold the finale until summer so the remaining episodes could air in sequence or stick to the planned maze, send off and figure out the displaced episodes later. They chose Door 2 and snapped a fundamental promise. On May 8, 1984, Passages aired. Joni and Chachi's engagement, Fonzie adopting a son, and Tom Bosley as Howard Cunningham offering a toast that felt like a hug to the entire country. It was closure. The contract between show and viewer had been honored. Curtain down. Then ABC brought the show back in June and July with those unaired February installments. To the audience, it felt like a resurrection gone wrong. The story had ended. The family had said goodbye. Suddenly, the characters were back, acting as if nothing had happened. Critics were baffled. Fans were bewildered. A pristine legacy got smudged. Veteran producers recoiled. A finale isn't just another episode. It's the last page of the novel, the final scene of the film. Publishing stray chapters after the end breaks the bond with your readers. Quietly, other networks took notes. By the mid-1980s, contracts started to include finale protections to prevent exactly this sort of after-the-credits stumble. The rule born from the blunder was simple. When a show ends, let it end. By 1984, Happy Days wasn't merely a sitcom. It was part of American routine. For the finale, Gary Marshall wanted to do something honest and risky. Have Howard Cunningham look into the camera and thank the viewers. Breaking the fourth wall was taboo then. Executives were alarmed. Would acknowledging the audience shatter the illusion the show had sustained for 11 seasons? Marshall argued the opposite. The Cunninghams had lived in millions of homes. The audience deserved to be recognized as extended family. After much back and forth, ABC grudgingly agreed. On May 8, 1984, Tom Bosley delivered the moment. He spoke of children grown, of love passed forward, of lives not defined by mountains climbed, or novels written, but by the joy of raising good kids. And then, thank you all for being part of our family. To Happy Days. Instead of breaking the spell, it completed it. Viewers wept. Letters poured in. Critics who first muttered gimmick later acknowledged its grace. The choice opened doors for bolder, more sincere finales across television. It should have stood untouched. Between June and September 1984, ABC rolled out 5 leftovers that never should have aired after Passages. They weren't epilogues. They weren't designed as coda. They were stranded episodes displaced by the Olympic shuffle. It started June 4, 1984, with So How Was Your Weekend? On a normal week, harmless fluff. Weeks after a curtain call, it was jarring, like seeing a friend at the grocery store a month after the funeral. Then came Low Notes, then School Dazed. Each arrival felt like the show pretending it hadn't already said farewell. By August, Good News. Bad News offered a glimmer of genuine emotion, Chachi facing a life-changing setback, even as opportunity beckoned, leading some to hope it might function as a second accidental swan song. But on September 24, 1984, the last Happy Days broadcast was Fonzie's Spots, with the Fonz enduring petty hazing from Potsy at Howard's Leopard Lodge. No grace notes. No gathered family, no thanks. The final image in the public run wasn't Howard's benediction. It was the coolest character on television reduced to a punchline. Television historians still wince. ABC had everything it needed. 11 seasons of goodwill, a finale that stuck the landing, and a moment of direct gratitude that made history. Then it undermined all of it with 5 out-of-sequence chapters that should have stayed buried. The 5 episodes of death didn't sink Happy Days because of bad writing or fading stars. They showed how careless scheduling can maim a classic from the outside.